for joining us at our Act at Home series, which we will remind you is Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 3 p.m. And you can watch it live here, or I think we also have it uploaded to YouTube and maybe on Facebook as well. Yes. So I think that I'll start just by introducing myself, because I know some of you, but for those of you I haven't met, and also for anyone watching this later, it is JD Sonata, and I use she, her pronouns. And I am the new campaign coordinator at the Sierra Club Wisconsin chapter. So I'm really excited. This is my third week, and I'm looking forward to, one, getting into this kind of little chat with you, but then also getting to meet you all and work with you in the near future. So today we're going to be talking about the Line 5 pipeline and then hearing and commenting session. So first, Elizabeth is going to give a little overview on the background of the pipeline, and then I'll talk about kind of where we are today, what's going on with the hearing, and how you can get involved. So Elizabeth, go for it.
Great, thanks. So I'm just going to turn on my screen share because I think maps are usually pretty helpful. So let me just do that here quickly. So in case can you all see my screen? Yeah, okay. In case you're unfamiliar with the pipeline, Line 5 is a oil pipeline that starts in Superior, Wisconsin. It travels kind of through northern Wisconsin, through the Bad River Band Reservation, into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It actually goes under the State of Mackinac, which is where Lake Huron and Lake Michigan meet, into the Lower Peninsula, where it actually connects into Canada and takes the oil east in Canada. So if you're familiar with the Line 5 pipeline, you're probably familiar with that crossing at the Lake Huron and Lake Michigan, where the two lakes meet, because that is, of course, a really important area. The Great Lakes are one of the world's largest, most pristine freshwater resources. And given the water oscillates so fast where the two lakes meet, if there were a potential spill there, it could be catastrophic for the lake. So you're probably familiar with that. But one of the process we're going to talk about today is actually happening in on the sort of northern Wisconsin side. So the pipeline that goes through the Bad River Band's reservation has been there for over 50 years. And they have leases with the Bad River Band of Lake Superior, Ojibwe, to allow the pipeline to go through. When those leases expired, almost a decade ago now, Bad River, the tribal government, looked at the impacts, and they found that there's quite a few concerns about the pipeline. And I'm showing you here now. We can put a link in the chat or in the comment section if you're watching this online, and I'll put it on if you're watching it afterwards, and I'll put it in the chat if you're watching it now. Bad River Natural Resources Department has an excellent website set up, and this is one of their brochures they have. So there's 5 major areas of concern. Without going into too much detail, I'll just show you kind of a couple of the big ones. The first one is where the pipeline crosses the Bad River, which is an important waterway in the area, and it actually flows into Lake Superior. As you can see, as it's depicted here, over time, due to just the natural geography of the area as well as climate change, the river has really adjusted and adapted. And so where the pipeline is, it was once fully on land and is now closer and closer to the river, which of course adds to concern that something could happen, it could impact the river. Another area of concern is they actually found, as they were doing research, that the pipeline is exposed in some areas. As you can see here, you can imagine how dangerous that is and how much more likely that is to lead to a spill or a rupture of the pipeline. And then they also found in some areas, kind of hard to see, but that the pipeline was actually unsupported. Similarly, as you can imagine, not having anything to sort of hold the pipeline up could create stress on the pipeline and could mean a rupture is more likely. There are a couple other areas where it was found to be exposed. And then a couple other concerns include a handful of what Enbridge calls anomaly digs, or when basically Enbridge admitting that there are some current concerns with the line, a few other things, including a helicopter crash when Enbridge was trying to check on the pipeline. So in general, Bad River discovered all of these concerns and decided not to renew their lease with Enbridge. They told Enbridge, we no longer want you to cross the reservation, and in fact, we don't want you to have a pipeline in the watershed, where of course they have treaty rights to hunt, fish, and gather, including gathering wild rice in the watershed. So they told Enbridge that they have to move the pipeline out of the watershed. Enbridge responded by suing Bad River, trying to force the pipeline there. That's all in courts, but I think it's pretty clear Bad River is going to win that case. I think it's clear because Enbridge is now working on what they're calling a reroute, but it's a new segment of that pipeline that would go around the reservation. So this is an image of the proposed route. The blue area is the Bad River reservation. You can see the orange is the existing pipeline. Enbridge has not proposed taking it out of the watershed like they said they should, like Bad River called on them to do. Instead, they've actually proposed a reroute that is just upstream of Copper Falls State Park, one of our kind of biggest gems here in the state. It crosses a lot of rivers and creeks that flow, including the Bad River, as you can see here, that flow north into Lake Superior. Less than 20 miles into Lake Superior, we saw the Kalamazoo spill, that pipeline spill. Easily the oil can flow that far. It risks the wild rice that Bad River is concerned about, and it risks a lot of animals and ecosystems in the area. It's a really unique and sensitive area for wetlands. So this is what Enbridge is proposing, and because of those concerns, we are working to oppose the pipeline and not allow it to go through. And I will hand it back to you, Jadine, to talk about how people can join us in that.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so that was a really good overview, and also I learned some stuff because, like I said, I'm new and I didn't know how the river was moving before, so that's pretty interesting and bad for the pipeline. Anyway, so yeah, so where we are today is basically what Elizabeth was saying, where there's this reroute that's been proposed by Enbridge, and we really don't want it to be allowed to pass because of all the reasons that she mentioned. It also is a threat for climate change and just community health in the area. It's a really big issue. And then, like she was saying, the proposed reroute is still in the watershed and would impact lots of waterways and rivers and would eventually flow into Lake Superior. And it would be really bad if that was contaminated. One, because it provides drinking water for a lot of the community in the area, and it is also the basis for a really strong tourism economy in northern Wisconsin. And so what we are dealing with now is that there is a public hearing held by the Department of Natural Resources on Wednesday, July 1st at 4 p.m. And this is, oh, thanks for the website. This is part of the permitting/approval process for the proposed project. And there are two main purposes of the hearing. The first is to gather input from the public on what should be included in the environmental impact statement, which is a document that outlines the environmental benefits and concerns of any project that's being proposed. It's kind of like, it's called scoping. So the idea is that you're determining the scope of what their investigation should be as they move forward. And that should inform whether the DNR can issue other permits, such as the wetlands and waterways permit, which is the second purpose of the hearing. Really, I don't think these two things should be held together, but they are. And so we're also gathering input on what the risks would be of this reroute to the wetlands and waterways in the area, which we kind of outlined before, and it will help the DNR in their consideration of whether they should grant Enbridge this permit, which hopefully they won't. So it's our opportunity to tell them why this is so important and to kind of like show them how much public support there is for stopping this pipeline. I also wanted to bring up that on top of everything that is like potential environmental and health impacts. And Bridge has like a really horrible history and record on safety. I was reading this article the other day saying that they just got fined like $7 million for disregarding safety precautions that they had promised to fulfill. So there's a lot at stake here. And we really want to make sure that the DNR and all of Wisconsin knows why it's so important to stop this. So that brings us to this question of what you can do to act at home, which makes sense given our chat. So the first thing is that you can testify at the hearing and don't feel like you need to be an expert in any way. I definitely am not. I'm just learning all this like along with you, but your opinion definitely matters, and we would love to have you there to voice just your thoughts. And we have tons of resources to help you out. We have a lot of talking points and sample comment if that will help you too. We are also going to be holding a webinar on how to testify if you haven't testified before, or if you just wanted a refresher. And we'll be going over kind of like how to put together a testimony, and also giving you time to practice and give you some tips on how to write something that will be most effective. So that's coming up on Monday, and we can give you some more information on that in the chat as well. So that's if you want to testify. If you want to show up but you don't want to speak, that's also great, because we want to be like packing this virtual hearing to show that there is a lot of public support against this pipeline. So you can just show up and listen to people and be there in numbers. And then the last thing that we have is you can submit a written comment, which you have a little bit more time for. Those are open until July 11th at midnight. And you can use the same talking points and information/resources that we have and we'll share with you to craft those comments. And then the last thing is that all of these things are not mutually exclusive. So if you wanted to attend the hearing and testify and also submit a comment, we really encourage you to do that and share with all of your friends and family that they can do the same. So I think that is the basic information that I have on the hearing. I don't know, Elizabeth, if you have anything else that you want to add that I missed, but otherwise we are happy to take any questions or comments or anything like that. And if anybody did want to, yeah, you can either type your questions in the chat box, or I think everyone is still muted and you'll have to kind of scroll over your screen and then go down to the bottom left corner where there's a little microphone that has a dash through it, and then unclick that or click it again to turn your microphone back on.
My name's John. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I have the 5 talking points on that I printed from for this potential talking points on this, so I can use this. I will also attend the webinar.
Awesome. That's great. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if there's anybody else here, but Elizabeth posted some helpful links in the chat, and we'll also share those when we post this, when it's uploaded. Cool. Well, yeah, again, I don't have anything else, but thank you all for joining us today, now and in the future. And hopefully you can join us at the hearing.